Hey YouTube, vSecure here. Today I wanted to cover routed interfaces. So in this video, you see we added a new switch to our environment and a new PC. So these are going to be connected through a routed interface. So when working with switches from time to time, it's required to connect them using a routed interface. And a routed interface operates at the layer 3 level, which is in the IP range, not using what we've been generally using, the MAC range. So when using a routed interface, the interface will have an IP address assigned to it, not a VLAN. So this IP address can then be used to route traffic between the two devices. To use a port for routed traffic, the first thing that needs to be done is we have to turn off the switchboards, so using the no switchboard command. So let's do that now. We'll go into global config mode, the interface that is connected to the other switch, and we'll type no switchboard. That's it. We are now in a layer 3 port. But as a layer 3 port, now we need to add an IP. And to add the IP, it's the same as we've done in previous videos. It's IP address and then the IP. And this one I just picking a random IP. So that's it. To verify that an IP is set, we can use the show IP interface brief command. We're going to exclude unassigned. And there it is. And it's up and connected. Now, since the interface is no longer tied to a VLAN, none of the requirements that were needed for, say, an SVI is there. We don't have to have a layer 2 VLAN built first. So on the switch, this connects to another IP or another switchboard with an IP of 1.1.1.2. And to verify connectivity, we can do a ping. Oh, and there it is. It had to, again, in some of the previous videos where I mentioned it has to do an ARP to get the MAC address of the interface. Now, on the new switch, I have the network 10.10.30.0/24 built. To route between the two switches, I'll have to create a static route on this switch to point to that network. The command to do that, let's go back into global config mode, is IP route 10.10.30.0, and then the subnet for that is a /24, so it's 255.255.255.0, and then the corresponding IP on that interface, which is 1.1.1.2. So that is the command to route the traffic statically from this switch to the other switch. Now I've already created the corresponding routes on the other switch here. A command, we're not going to go too in depth in routing, but a command we can use to see if the routes are there is the show IP route. And you can see I created the little S means static. And we can see 10.10.10 and 10.10.20. Alright, so this should allow pings between the computers to work now. Like I said, I'll go in more detail on routing maybe in a later video, but this was just to get some basic connectivity set up. So let's hop on the PC. Let's check what the IP is. This is 10.10.10.2. And let's check what the IP is here. 10.10.30.2. Let's try pinging that IP. And there you can see we have connectivity. I don't know if we can do a trace route. Let's see if that's available. Oh, we do. Okay, let's trace it. And you can see the different hops to get there. You can see it hits our local gateway, goes to the interface on the other switch, and then finally it hits the other device, which obviously we saw because we could ping it. So there, we have verified we have connectivity between the end hosts. We're now routing the networks between these two switches. So now that we've learned another method of connecting a switch between each other, in the next video, we're going to learn how we can limit that access. And we're going to learn a little bit about access control lists, which are also called ACLs. Thanks for sticking around.